Reading with your kids.
Hola, ni hao, konnichiwa, assalamu alaikum, shalom, jumbo. Bienvenidos. Hi, my name is Jedley, and this is the Reading with Your Kids podcast. We are coming to you from the beautiful neighborhood of Reedville in the southwest corner of Boston, Massachusetts. We are so happy that you're part of our beautiful Reading with Your Kids family. Please be sure to subscribe to the show on the iHeartRadio app, on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, wherever you find your podcast. Our guest today is Arlene Gillo. She is here to talk about Bruce Wayne is Insane Meeting Ninja Kitty. We're also going to learn that Arlene is not only an author, she's also an acupuncturist, and her clients include humans and animals. It's a fascinating conversation. I can't wait to share it with you. But before I do, I have to let you know that the Reading with Your Kids podcast is going back to Chicago. That's right. We're going to be part of Kids Expo at the Schaumburg Convention Center, Schaumburg, Illinois, February 8th and 9th. It's going to be an amazing time. Kids Expo is such a great event. There's going to be all sorts of great activities for kids and families to love, including Jedley's Totally Interactive Magic Circus and our Totally Interactive Reading with Your Kids booth, where you and your kids can find out what it's like to be a guest on the podcast. It's all happening February 8th and 9th, Schaumburg Convention Center, Schaumburg, Illinois. It's Kids Expo. Joining us on the line right now from the beautiful Southern California area, she is the author of Bruce Wayne is Insane Meeting Ninja Kitty. Please welcome to the show, Arlene Gillo. Arlene, how are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you for having me on your show.
We're really excited to be speaking to this. What a great title, Bruce Wayne is Insane Meeting Ninja Kitty. I can't wait for you to tell us all about this book.
Yes, I'd love to tell you. What would you like to know?
Well, just give us a thumbnail of the story. That would be a great place to start.
Okay, so basically, Bruce Wayne, the character, is a young pit. He's actually based on my own pit. And so he's newly adopted and new to the neighborhood. And one day he meets a cat in his backyard that he has to protect. And they become friends, and the cat decides to teach him martial arts. So that's basically what the story is about.
Cool. Now, when you refer to pit, we're talking about a pit bull dog. Is that right?
Yes, he's actually an American Staffordshire, but some people don't know the difference. Mm-hmm. And people, when I'm walking him, they just think he's a pit, because he looks very intimidating, but he's really a sweetheart.
Now, I was going to say, when people see you walking him, do you have that experience where a lot of people kind of cross the street or get very scared?
Well, yeah, they cross the street, or if they have little dogs, they pick up their dogs, and they don't realize that Bruce Wayne actually, he thinks he's a small dog, so he gets a little anxious, and he tries to veer away from them. So, but of course, I'm not going to disclose that to them.
Well, that's one of the things. Pit bulls are that, pit bulls now are what Doberman Pinschers were when I was growing up. It was that scary breed of dog that no one really understood. Not a lot of people had them, and they had this reputation for being very aggressive or problematic, and certainly there have been pit bulls who have gone out and been aggressive and have bitten children, but there's also been Chihuahuas who've been aggressive and bitten children, and all kind of breeds.
Oh my goodness, yes, for sure. Pit bulls have had a really bad rap. Since I work with animals, the only time I got attacked, and it wasn't while I was working, it was while I was going to Pete's Coffee before work, I got attacked by a golden retriever. I mean, it just grabbed my hand and dragged me. And, people think that golden retrievers are awesome dogs and great for kids, but, when people found out that I got attacked by a golden retriever, they were shocked because of their reputation. But pit bulls are so awesome. I mean, they're very loving, so loyal. And I think that's why they use them for fighting, because they're so loyal to their owners. They'll do whatever the owner wants. Like Bruce Wayne does whatever, I can do anything to him, and he'll just say, okay, Mom, do what you have to do. I'll let you. He's very sweet.
Yeah. And they're just incredible animals. We don't have a pit bull in our home, but it's part of our extended family. And it's a wonderful, wonderful dog, and I love playing with him, but he's all muscle.
Yes. It's intimidating. People see how muscular they are, and they're afraid. I've had human patients, who are afraid of pits, and I have to educate them, because I've had 2 pits now, and they've been awesome. They've been wonderful.
Yeah,
but they are protective and very loyal.
It reinforces that, what we talk about on the show when we're talking about pets. It's, really bringing up whatever type of dog you're bringing up, whether it's a pit, a German Shepherd, a Beagle like we have now, a Saint Bernard like I grew up with. Dogs are beautiful, and they can be very loyal. They can be great friends. But they can also, if you bring them up to be vicious and aggressive, then they'll be vicious and aggressive.
It all depends on how the owner treats them. I don't know if people know, but American Staffordshirs were actually bred to take care of kids. They were left alone with kids, back in England. And so, they're very protective of kids. They love kids. So they were left alone with the kids to take care of them, So.
That's fascinating. I had no idea that they were kind of used as dog nannies, huh?
Yeah, because they're so protective and they're so gentle with kids. But boy, if a stranger comes, they're going to protect that kid.
Yeah.
That's what they're bred for.
Well, it's interesting. We're talking about misperceptions that people might have about pit bulls, and certainly talking about prejudgments that people make about pit bulls. And in some ways, that's what Bruce Wayne is Insane Meeting Ninja Kitty is about. Yes.
Bruce Wayne, the character, is confused when Tuxford, or Tux, the cat, wants to be his friend, because, before he was adopted, he thought, well, cats and dogs can't be friends. So he had that same preconception about not being friends with cats. But then, when Tux, he's a little bit more wiser and older than Bruce Wayne, he just says, well, we just decide to be friends, and then we can be friends. That's all it takes, is a decision. And I think, with what's happening right now politically, you can just decide, okay, well, this person is a human being, and just because they look different, they sound different, they ultimately want the same thing, which is, being happy, living a good life, and regardless of what they look like or sound like, it's that notion that, this group of people is like this or whatever, you know what I mean? And I was hoping to get that across in my book, between the dog and the cat.
And I think that's a great message. And just like, I'm guessing that you use the pit bull character because you have adopted a pit bull into your family. But it really is, it's a very fitting, character, because like you said, sometimes we can see another person, and instead of seeing the person, we see an other, something different from us. And it's really, really important to help our kids understand that when we look at another person, we should first see that is a person.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What inspired you to write this book?
Well, when I first adopted Bruce Wayne, he did so many things that I just couldn't believe, like jumping on the kitchen counter, grabbing a frozen pork that I put out to thaw while I was at work, and it just disappeared, and it happened to reappear under my bed. I mean, there were things that he did, and I thought, I'm going to write something. And so finally I was driving to work, and I got a vision of Bruce Wayne meeting a cat, and this cat is like Bruce Lee, teaching him how to, fight, or not fight, but do martial arts. Mm-hmm. And it just made me laugh that I thought, okay, I'm going to write this down. And it only took me maybe 2 weeks to write because it was so fresh in my mind, and it was hilarious to me, and I just thought I'd share that.
Yeah. Now, we don't want anybody thinking out there when they hear Arlene say that it just took me 2 weeks to write it down. That took you 2 weeks to write down the basic story. And then there's the editing, and then there's the illustrations, and then there's the formatting and the publishing. And so it's.
Well, that took much longer.
Yes.
The meat of it, the story, only took 2 weeks. However, I didn't do the illustration. It actually, when I finally decided, okay, I'm going to just self-publish this because I didn't want the anxiety of trying to do it traditionally and being rejected. I thought, okay, I'm doing this for me, so I'm just going to self-publish it, and whoever wants to read it or buy it, they're going to find it. Do you know what I mean? So, but that took 4 years when I finally decided, okay, I'm going to do this. And when I chose Balboa Press to do it, they were awesome because I got to, I had full control of what the illustrations look like. So I actually had my nephew draw a couple pictures of Bruce Wayne, and then when I submitted it and they came back with initial illustrations, I changed things because I wanted Bruce Wayne to look soft and not scary, but, sweet and innocent looking, and that's what, the illustrations turned out to be. So I was very pleased.
That's awesome. Now, I have to address this because it's so fascinating. Now, when you're not writing, you are an acupuncturist, and you have patients who are human beings, but you also practice acupuncture on animals. Can you talk a little bit about how you got into acupuncture and how you eventually got into practicing on animals?
Well, I was a human acupuncturist first, of course. I was doing that for 5 years, and then my dogs, not Bruce Wayne, another set of dogs that I had prior to Bruce Wayne, one of them, who was also a kid, kept getting an ear infection, and it seemed like the vets would just give him antibiotics, and which never really solved the problem. And I thought, wait a minute, I can help him. And so I read up on nutrition. I totally changed his diet. I put him on an herbal formula, and I gave him a couple acupuncture treatments. And he was 5 then, and he never got an ear infection again. And he lived to be 13. So as I was going through that process, I knew someone who worked at a vet, and the vet was interested in acupuncture, providing acupuncture to her practice, but she didn't have time. And so I kind of had like an internship for a year just to understand animals, I studied the meridians or their anatomy and physiology, which they have similar meridians. Meridians are basically where energy flows and where the acupuncture points are placed. And so I did that, and after a year I started working on animals. So that's how it came to be, and it was a great working relationship because, the acupuncture for animals offered an alternative way in helping them with their pain, with their discomfort, with their anxiety. I mean, I'm treating animals. Animals have very similar symptoms as people. So, it's kind of interesting. Sometimes I would have an owner would bring their animal to me, their dog, and they would have similar issues as the owner. And I would tell the owner, well, that's not unusual because animals are so sensitive. They kind of reflect what's going on with the owner because they're so close to their owner. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, wow.
So having the same issues as their owner is not unusual. And actually, there was one client who was a psychotherapist. When I listed, when I asked all these questions for her dog, she ended up saying, "Oh yeah, that's like, everything that I have." And so I told her maybe you should get acupuncture, and she didn't like that because then she had to like look at her issues that her dog was reflecting to her. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I imagine.
So, anyways.
That's fascinating. And it's interesting that it was a psychotherapist that didn't want to take a look at herself?
Exactly. Exactly. I found that really interesting.
Yes.
But,
Indeed. Well, none of us are perfect. Tell me.
Of course not.
Do you have a preference? Do you prefer working on humans or animals?
I like them both. I mean, I like the fact that humans can tell me what's going on with them. Mm-hmm. But with animals, I have to rely on what the owners tell me. And of course I do my own assessment when I see the dog or the cat. So I like that aspect of working with people is because they can communicate. However, I love working with animals because I can just, sit on the floor if they're big dogs and, wear casual clothes. I wear scrubs and just really, not only get to know the dog, but I get to know the owner because a lot of times the owner is there with me while I'm giving their pet a treatment. So I love that aspect of it. It's a great balance for me. Mm-hmm. So I just love it.
Now, I'm curious. Now, it sounds like you work on dogs, and I imagine cats.
And I've worked on rabbits and birds, and one leatherback. It looked like a big lizard. That was the only time I worked on a reptile.
That's just fascinating. And I'm assuming that your treatment to the reptile was successful?
It was very successful. The owners knew me because I had treated their dog who had passed, and they decided to get a reptile. And the reptile had a mask. Oh, her name was Tangerine. I don't want to just refer to her as Reptile. But her name was Tangerine, and Tangerine had a mask at the base of her tail. And so when it was removed by the vet, she became paralyzed from the tail down. She couldn't really move her hind legs. And so the vet just said, put her down. But the owners didn't want to, and so they they contacted me. They contacted the vet where I work with, and brought her to me immediately. And so I did my assessment, and I said, she'll be fine. You know, she'll start to walk again. And so, after the treatment, I started palpating or touching the pads of her hind legs, and it was responding. And I said, she'll be fine. And so, sure enough, she was able to move, and it didn't take that many treatments. The acupuncture also increased her appetite, which the owners were worried about, and yeah, they were really pleased. So they had her for another 4 months. Unfortunately, the cancer came back, and so that's what, you know, she died of.
Wow.
Because it came back. But at least they had 4 good months with her. They didn't, you know, she was walking, she was eating, but as soon as they stopped the acupuncture, because they thought, okay, she's fine now, the cancer came back, and so it was hard to kind of, you know, revive her to the point where she was. Do you know what I mean? It's harder.
Well, this has been absolutely fascinating. I think I could talk to you about animal acupuncture all day long, but I do want to get back now that you've written Bruce Wayne is Insane, meeting Ninja Kitty. Have you caught the author bug? Do you have more stories and more picture books in your future?
Yes, I mean, I'm trying to self-publish the next one. I've already written at least 3 stories already. So I'm just kind of going through the editing for the next one that I want to publish, but they're all so good, and they all have a message.
Oh,
and of
wonderful.
course, it's, you know,
well,
I love them.
Well, we're excited to possibly have you back to talk about those stories. In the meantime, why don't you let everybody know where they can go online to connect with you, to find out more about Bruce Wayne is Insane, meeting Ninja Kitty?
Sure. Please go to my author website. It's arlenegilloauthor.com. I'm also on Facebook under Arlene Gillo, Gillo, and I have an Instagram for Bruce Wayne. Please follow him. I try to post something about his life at least once a week. His Instagram handle is Bruce Wayne is Insane. Let's see. And I also have a Twitter account. It's just Arlene-Gillo. Please follow me. I would really appreciate it. And if anyone out there lives in Pasadena, I will be doing a book event at Roman's Bookstore in Old Town, Pasadena, January 26th at 12 p.m. It's a wonderful bookstore, and they have a fantastic section for the children's book. So I think I've said everything, right?
Yes, that was wonderful. Well, we want to encourage everybody to check out Bruce Wayne is Insane, meeting Ninja Kitty by our guest, Arlene Gillo. Arlene, thanks so much for being part of the show.
Oh, gosh, thank you so much. I've had a great time speaking with you.
Please be sure to join us for the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast. Our guests will be Mark and Lisa Berginger. They are the creators of Cubits, a fantastic toy that introduces kids to the STEM fields. It's really, really fascinating. And Mark was also a guest on the very first episode of Shark Tank, that amazingly popular TV show. So we're going to find out all about Cubits. We're also going to find out about what it was like being a guest on that mega TV show, Shark Tank. That's the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast. You know, one of the things about Shark Tanks is it introduces products, inventions to millions and millions of people all around the world, and it's incredibly successful. People love it. Well, we can't claim to have millions and millions of listeners. We have thousands of listeners. And if you're the author of a fantastic children's book, you probably want to let those thousands of people know about your great book. We would love to help you. We'd love to have you as a guest on the Reading with Your Kids podcast. It's fun, it's easy, and it gives you the chance to tell those thousands of people about your fantastic book. All you need to do is to go to our website, readingwithyourkids.com. Click on the contact button at the bottom of the page and let us know about your great book. We'll let you know the next easy steps. You may also want to check out our author services page. That button's at the top of readingwithyourkids.com. I want to thank the folks who made today's show so very wonderful. Of course, I want to thank our guest, Arlene Gillo. Please be sure to check out Bruce Wayne is Insane Meeting Ninja Kitty. Also want to thank my producer, Fatima Khan, for all she does for the show. Be sure to check out her blog. That's at readingwithyourkids.com. Want to thank my beautiful wife for all the support she gives me. I want to thank Augie the doggy for having me back here in the studio. And I want to thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. And thank you so much for taking the time to make the world a better place by reading with your kids. I'll be looking for you in the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast.